Welcome to this IPS Core Ideology and Values webcast. My name's John Bullock and I'm with Jane today. Hello, Jane.
Hi there, John.
What we're going to do today is take you through the core ideology and the values that IPS have generated over the previous months. I've been working with Jane and the team at IPS to generate this thing called a core ideology and then the values that back up that core ideology. But before we get into what those values actually were for IPS, we thought it'd be quite useful to give you the background of what is a core ideology, where does it come from.
Yep.
So the research and history around core ideology is that organizations that have a strong core ideology outperform their next best competitor by tenfold.
Right.
The people in it are living the values, the way we do things around here. The French would say the raison d'etre, the reason for being. Absolutely, and it's not just all about coming in and hitting the numbers, albeit that's very, very important. So the history around the core ideology is this. What truly makes exceptional companies and those companies different from others? There was a study done. Now, this research came from a book called Built to Last. It's quite old now, but the study still stands. And there was a study done on three sets of types of organizations in the American market over a period of time. You can see there 1926 to 1990. What they did is they measured the share price of first the general market. So if you put $1 in the general market in 1926, when you took it out in 1990, your return was $415. So it's not a bad return for the general market. If you put $1 in what they called the comparison companies, now these were the next best competitor to the visionary, the companies that were best at what they did. Yeah. If you put $1 in those companies, then your return was $955. So double the market return. So still very, very good. However, if you put $1 in the companies they called the visionary companies, the companies that were the best in their field at what they did, your return was over $6,000. Yeah. So you can see there's a massive gap between first and second place, if you like it. Yeah. You know, we're not comparing best and worst. We're comparing best and next best. Yeah. And the gap is massive. Yeah. And from that research came the core ideology, that these organizations, the visionary companies, they had a core ideology, a reason for doing what they did, as well as making money. Yeah. Because money's obviously very, very, we work in a business and businesses have monetary goals. But the visionary companies had monetary goals and a value process that people behaved in line with.
And it sets them apart.
It does set them apart, and it makes them visionary rather than just any old company that's out there. And it also makes them quite key, sustainable. Yep. So even when times were hard, these companies, they survived, they continued. Now, the core ideology was it wasn't an or, it was an and. So it wasn't we can live our values and or make money. Yeah. It was we make money and live our values. So it was an and rather than an or. And it had a responsive strategy as well. They were able to change their strategy to market conditions as well, which is very important. There were some rules that you had to be if you were going to be one of these visionary companies. For instance, it had to be a premier institution, so it had to be widely acknowledged. It had to have been founded before 1950. It had to have seen many business cycles because it's easy to be great when things are great. It had to have had several chief executives. That's quite an interesting one because what that's trying to get at is it wasn't running off one person's brand. It was the business brand. Yeah. So, for instance, if we did this research again now, you couldn't put Virgin into that box
because they've only had RB.
Correct. And if Branson went, would they be the same organisation? Would the results, would it be lived in the same? We wouldn't know until there's a change there. And of course, they had to have a successful competitor because anybody can be great without any competition. Which is in there. So those are some of the rules, and there were many more as well. So what they came up with was these visionary companies, they had an unchanging core ideology. And the core was, why do we do what we do? As well as making money. Okay, so what is the point? Why do we come to work? As well as obviously bringing the cash in because we're a business. And then, what are the values that we're going to live whilst we're working
Yeah.
Okay. So the core ideology also never changed. So once it was set, it didn't waver, even in difficult times, which is can be really challenging when you've got a core ideology that's in there.
And John, I find that interesting because that is IPS.
Yes.
Through the decades that we've been going, we have done that.
Different change, different business cycles.
So our core ideology must be there.
Yes.
It's actually identifying it.
And that's the key. And a lot of companies that I go and work with, they've already got it.
Yeah.
And you guys had it. It was just facilitating that to get out what it is.
Yeah.
And then the values behind it, which is what we did. And obviously why we've put the webcast together today. Yeah. But here's some examples of core ideologies, okay? Disney, to make people happy. Yeah. I mean, you can't get much simpler.
Exactly, simple.
Than that. Make people happy.
Yeah. And you think of Disney, and that's what you think.
Of course you do.
Balloons.
Absolutely.
Laughing children.
100%. Now, you won't see, and this is a really good point actually, because a core ideology isn't generally a marketing slogan. So you won't see any posters for Disney that say we make people happy. Yeah. You might see some that say we entertain or Magical Kingdom or whatever it may be. But you won't see, because actually it's an internal core ideology. Yeah. So when you go and work at Disney World, you spend 3 months at Disney University learning how to make people happy. Even if you're the janitor, you spend time making people happy. Yeah, because people assume that that's the case, but the people that assume that everybody knows how to do that don't work for Disney. Yeah. And that's why Disney's Disney. Yeah. 3M, to unsolve unsolvable problems, not we make highlighters. Or post-it notes or whatever it may be. Brilliant. I like Hewlett-Packard, to make technical contributions for the advancement and welfare of humanity. Yeah. Not we make printers. Can you see the difference? See the difference. The printers, don't get me wrong, important. Yeah. They generate revenue.
Everyone's got them. Everyone uses
Absolutely. Them. And it's important that they generate revenue to be able to make technical contributions to the advancement and welfare of humanity. Yeah. So the core ideology is the reason why this raison d'etre, all of your strategies like selling printers and computers and all that type of stuff, they should fit in line with the core ideology in there. There's a couple of things that I like on here. In Disney, everything speaks, everything is painted, and all the light bulbs work. Now that tells you something about the business, doesn't it? Or it automatically goes, it's going to be good there. Yeah. It's going to be good. Unlike maybe Blackpool Pleasure Beach, where they might have a slightly different core ideology going on. But this is why Disney, we almost use Disney sometimes as a describing word. It's very Disney because people know what it is. Exactly. Don't they? They know what it is. Yeah. There's Hewlett-Packard. I personally like this one. In Hewlett-Packard staff handbook, it says, because they've got a very strong core ideology, HP, and actually they look after their people very, very well. But they won't stand for anybody messing about, okay? And in their staff handbook, it says either adopt the Hewlett-Packard way enthusiastically, or they simply don't belong here. They are ejected like a virus. Whoa! Now people might look at that just on the first look and kind of go, oh, that's harsh. Actually, when you know about the business, they will really look after you. But what they're saying is, we know why we're here. So if you're going to come on board, don't mess about when you're on board. Yeah. And that's what a core ideology does. Yeah. It brings a business together to go, this is the way we do things around here. Yeah. And if you're not on board with that, that's okay, because you can go somewhere else. Yeah. But this is what we're going to do. Yeah. I actually really quite like that. Yeah. It's a good example of core ideology. So this core ideology then comes together. The values sit behind it, and we're going to talk about that in a moment. And then around it fits the strategy. Right. So earlier on, you talked about IPS going through lots of different business cycles. I'm sure you've had ups and downs and highs and lows and all this type of stuff, but you're still here. Yeah. So that core ideology must be running through. It's like a stick of Blackpool rock. Yeah. When you break it, the writing goes all the way through. Absolutely. Yeah. So our challenge was, when we first came together, was, I suppose my challenge was to get that out of your heads, wasn't it, really? To facilitate the information and pull it together so you could then, as a team, put that core ideology together and then generate the values behind that core ideology. Yeah, that's right, you did. That's in there. So what we did is we got a cross-section of the business, did we not? Yeah, we did. And we were quite this was quite an important point. It wasn't just a leadership group, was it?
No.
We took a cross section.
That was a very good point, actually.
Yeah, because it's not just it comes from the leaders. This is lived and breathed by everybody in the organisation.
Yeah.
So we took a cross section of the business, leaders to support staff. We got everybody in a room.
Yeah.
For a day. And if you remember, there was lots of post-it notes.
Oh, lots of post-it notes, John.
Lots of post-it notes.
Very colourful.
Working in small groups.
Yep.
And then what we did is we took that output from those small groups into the larger group. And we started to group things together. Mm-hmm. And there were some key words that started to come out of what was important to you guys in this business and why you were here and why you were employed and did the job that you did. And all the outputs were then put together at the end of the day.
Yep.
They were taken away. There was some more work done in the background around getting the phraseology right of these outputs, these values, and so on. And then they were put together. There was a short internal video that's produced. Yeah. Some people have seen that video. Yep. Some people will see it going forward. And we've also put together a brand ambassador team, which we'll talk about a little bit later, which these are going to be the people championing the rollout of this core ideology. So what was the result? The result was this. The core ideology is the lifeblood of the business, as we've said, okay? Yeah. It's got a single purpose to unite people in what you're trying to do, okay? Mm-hmm. And create the brand that you want. Because so far we've talked about this core ideology from an internal point of view. Actually, if you get it right, people external, your customers, your clients, they will start to see what it is. So for instance, you don't need to be told that Disney will make you happy when you go there. Yeah. You know you're going to be happy when you go there. You're going
to Disney for that reason.
Absolutely.
You choose to go to Disney.
100%. So if you can get this right internally, that starts to feed out then externally into your customers, into your potential customers, even more importantly. Yeah. Excuse me. And then, of course, the customers that you've currently got, instead of getting a one-off hit, you get customers for life because they start to see this, okay? Yeah. So it shouldn't be really specific to restrict people in doing things, but it shouldn't be vague. Yeah. It needs to be, construct enough to be able for people to buy into it. Okay, move forward. So here were some of the ideas that came out, and there was many, many more, but here were just some of them. Helping people optimize and their achievements using the resources and knowledge. That was quite a big one. I remember that coming out quite a lot. The amount of knowledge you have in this organization.
Sure. Yeah.
And sometimes we don't always tap into it in the right way. Being best in class. Yep. As well, so being the best at what you do, adding value in everything you do. Another big one was about delivering solutions, wasn't it? That word delivering came out, and it actually came out as one of the values in the end, didn't it? Yeah. Being able to deliver that whole package for your clients, and there was many, many more. And as you can imagine, after one day and about 400 post-it notes, so there was a lot put together. So the IPS core ideology, Jane, go on, share it with us.
Okay. Uniting people and knowledge to deliver quality solutions.
Fantastic. That is the core ideology. That is the statement that came out. So then what we needed to start doing is we needed to start breaking down what are the values that are going to drive that core ideology. Yeah. So you've got uniting people, you've got the knowledgeable, you've got that delivering piece. Quality obviously came in there, very, very important. And actually, a lot of word that some people miss as well is the solutions element. That's in there. Yeah. So all really key things, uniting people and knowledge to deliver a quality service. Yeah. Now, you can buy into that. If you're a new person coming into it and that's shared with you on day one, you can go, okay, I get it. Yeah. I understand it.
I know what they're after.
Absolutely.
I know what I need to do.
And I know how now I need to behave. So what values do we want behind it? So the values are really important because it gives the employees of the organization like an unwritten rule book of how they should conduct themselves. Yeah. And, even when times are tough. Now, in business, there's, if you've got a value of honesty, integrity, and you're really being pushed to make a sale, and you could make a sale, but it's not in line with the values, difficult time, isn't it? Yeah. And this is why the values in all of those businesses that were researched, the businesses that were the visionary businesses, the ones that were outstripping the next best competitors, they were value driven. So the
Yeah.
value always came out. And the research tells us that those companies are the most productive and the most taking the most revenue than all of the others. Even if some of the others have spikes, they don't do it on a regular basis because they don't have the value set to in that.
But if your clients trust you, they're going to come back to you. So if you stick with your values that they expect from you, I guess you're on the right path.
Well, you're doing what you say you're going to do.
Yeah.
So you will build trust and respect as well in that relationship, and also with your colleagues. If you have a value of integrity and you say to one of your colleagues, "I'm going to achieve X," and then you don't. Well, you're not living the value. You're not showing integrity. You're not even showing respect to your colleague, to be fair, at that point. So living those values is very important. And then, two-part here, not only living them, but also rewarding and recognising people for them as well. Because in business, we're very good at rewarding people when we hit numbers. Now, don't get me wrong, that is vitally important, okay? However, excuse me, if we can recognise people when they're living the values, people feel much more valued because it's picked up on, you know. And as we know, we've literally had a meeting a few moments ago with the brand ambassador team. And the brand ambassador team is a team of like-minded people in this organisation that want to help move this culture forward with the core ideology, living with the values, and they're putting in a recognition scheme. And people will start to be recognised for living these values. So I think it's probably really important that we share what the values are there with everybody, isn't it? So, professional. Tell you what, I'll do the first one. You can do the next one, okay? So, professional was the first value that came out from this. So, a professional recruitment consultancy. The quality of service and value that you add to the industry, it's really, really important. You're not pushy sales people. There are too many recruiters like that, aren't there? There are two, and that's not you. You're experts in what you do.
We certainly are.
Okay, and that comes back to also links in with the knowledge piece that we'll come on to later as well. That wealth of experience that we've got in there. Professional and reliable, maintaining and building those relationships. Building customers for life rather than a quick sale. That's the difference between a company that's got a good core ideology and a company that hasn't. And then, of course, there's some keywords in there. You've got, accountable, committed, proud, to wear the badge without wearing the badge, passionate, reliable. Some really great words. I think there's a really good description there of being professional. If anybody is in doubt of what professional is, that's it for you there. Absolutely. So how do you live it? Here's some quick examples of how you might live this internally and externally. So internally, being respectful to your colleagues.
That should be a given, shouldn't it?
It should be a given, but we have to show people what it is sometimes. We have to tell them.
Take some thinking about sometimes.
Absolutely. Dressing appropriately, behaving professionally. I mean, these are all what I would call basic standards. However, if they're not in place in the first instance, it's difficult to expect it from people. So that's why they're externally being punctual, focusing on helping and not on profit. Now, that's quite a key one, isn't it? There are not many organisations that are brave enough to write something like that.
No, and that links in with integrity as well.
Of course it does, Now, this isn't saying don't focus on profit. It's saying focus on helping people, and if you do it correctly, the profit will be there.
Profit will follow.
Absolutely, 100%. So the first value was professional. Okay. The next one is integrity. So why don't you take us through this?
Okay, let's have a go at this one. Honesty and integrity have always been very important to IPS Group. We're not in the business of duping people into working with us. Kind of the dubious sales techniques that you get from the high street consultancies and all of that. Just to get clients to work with you. We're open and honest. With everyone that we come in contact with, whether clients, candidates, it's the best way to be.
Absolutely.
We feel we've got an amazing business. I mean, I can genuinely say that. Being here long enough to see different businesses.
And seeing what's happened and see what other people do.
And knowing what we've done. I am very proud of what we've done.
Which is great.
We have been around for a long time. There's no arguing in that one.
So the longevity's good as well then in the organisation.
Absolutely, because it gives us stability and We don't need to embellish or fudge the truth. We all know we've been here.
I particularly liked that bit. Again, and again, brave to write, because in reality, it's very, very easy to tweak the truth.
Yeah.
People do it without even thinking sometimes.
Yeah.
But that integrity piece, in my opinion, is a key one that's going to get your customers for life.
Yeah.
Because once you've built that with somebody, what integrity generates is respect, and it's another one of the words that's in there.
That's right. You think about integrity, and you think about trust and accountability, and having the courage. You've got to go the distance. You've got to have the courage to do all of that.
Absolutely, it is key. It is key, because sometimes it's easy to fudge the truth. You've got to have courage to 100%. So internally, externally.
Yeah, being honest with ourselves about standard of our work. You've got to be critical with yourself over that. Never allowing it to drop. Being open and honest with our colleagues about our workload. Don't overpromise on things. Telling people when they're doing a good job. That's the recognition piece as well, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Or a bad job.
And that's the consequences piece. Yes. Yes, very much so. Yeah.
It's not about having a go at someone. Just say something nicely. They'll improve. It's all a learning curve.
Yeah, sometimes people need the feedback, don't they? Sometimes they don't realise. Yeah, absolutely. Benchmark it, because generally I find people don't go to work to do a bad job.
No.
But if they are, then if we support and help them, they've got a choice to change that around, haven't they?
Yeah.
Good stuff. So that's integrity then.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So that was the next value. So the value after this then was collaboration.
Yeah.
So I think this was, again, another key one for you guys to share that knowledge that you've got together, to collaborate in an efficient and an effective way across the whole business.
Yeah.
The amount of times I go into an organisation and the amount of knowledge that is in that organisation that's just not being tapped into, it's not being shared. People from previous history, previous lives, all this type of stuff. And then dedicate to working as a team, bringing that together and being, in the terms that I would use, not just being a team, but being a high-performing team.
Yeah.
And the difference between a team and a high-performing team is sharing of that knowledge and application of it.
Yeah, sure.
That is really, and of course, to do that, you need to build relationships with your team members. Yeah. You need to show each other respect and integrity and professionalism and all of the values that have already gone for us there. Nurture the team. Yeah. It's a living thing. Have ambition together, be accountable together, support each other. Even accountable I quite like, because it's, as a team, what a high-performing team do very, very well is they celebrate wins together, but they also hold each other to account. Yeah. When somebody's not doing something that they need to be doing, then the team gather around and go, okay, why is that not happening? Can we support you? Or actually, do you need to make some changes?
That's it. Offer support. Help them get through it.
Absolutely. And it can be the difference between a team and a high-performing team collaboration. Yeah. In my view.
Communication. Can I just...
Yes.
That's one of my favourite ones. You learn so much more when you collaborate, communicate. Go talk to someone you haven't spoken to before in your business. Be brave. Open the conversation.
Simple things,
You'll learn so much more about your market.
Absolutely. It's very easy to get siloed.
Yeah.
It's very easy to look at your jobs list for the day and not have any other time for anything else.
That's right.
Actually, high-performing teams go out of their way to build relationships.
Yeah.
And you can only do that by having a conversation with somebody, by starting the conversation. Absolutely, so no, you're absolutely right. Collaboration. So internally then, collaborating with colleagues, as we said, in an open and honest way, being accountable for our work.
Yeah.
If you say you're going to do it, then do it. Simple, straightforward, but being accountable. Yeah. Every employee feeling empowered. Yeah. Externally, partnering with clients, making that partnership, representing and promoting the entire business, not just your part of it.
That's right, very important.
And then being accountable for the actions. The same internally applies externally to your clients. So that was collaboration.
Yeah.
So we move on to the next one. Knowledgeable.
Okay. Now this is very true. IPS does have a very genuine interest in the industries in which we work. Many recruiters, they do pay lip service to being market experts. They say they are.
It's easy to say.
It's very easy to say. But we know genuinely that, our board have all come from within the insurance industry in one guise or another. And we do recruit from the industry. And we continue to take an active part beyond recruitment activities for our industry.
And that's quite key, because you're continuing the relationship, aren't you, at that point? And and you are experts. You are experts in what you do.
Yeah.
Your clients, they will have worries and fears because they're not experts.
Yeah.
And they come to you, and if you can get across that knowledge that you've got, it will put them at ease straight away.
Trust us, trust IPS. We know exactly.
Trust's a great word. Knowledge can lead to trust, without a doubt. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You've got innovation there, haven't you? You've got focused. You've got planning, passionate.
Yeah.
Some really, really good words in there.
Yeah.
And out of all of the values that we've covered so far, I think this one is easy to forget.
Yeah.
It's easy to forget all of that knowledge that you've got in your business, because we're all busy. We're all busy doing things.
Ideally, the knowledge that we've got in the business overall, but certainly from the am I allowed to say senior people in business?
Yeah.
That has got to be passed down.
Yeah, seeped
to
through.
The younger
Absolutely. Yeah,
the
very
younger
much
everyone
so.
in the business.
Yeah.
So
much knowledge.
Don't ignore that. That's a real valuable asset. Just get it, grab it, learn it.
Absolutely. And also, I think there's two ways that you can do this in an organisation. I think as an organisation, you can put a plan in place, which is a little bit like the brand ambassador. What the brand ambassador team are currently doing. They're generating a communications plan to share some of the knowledge in the business. Right. But however, that's great. Mm-hmm. As an individual, if I'm John in your business and I'm a junior person in the business, I would be personally knocking on Anthony, Chris's door, going, what knowledge do you have that I can take, please?
Exactly.
Because that's going to help move me forward. So I think there's responsibility for the organisation to share this knowledge, and then there's an accountability personally for people in the organisation to go and ask for it.
Exactly. It's there. Just go and ask for it.
Yeah, very much so. Completely. Very much so. So internally, we've got sharing knowledge and skills, as we've said.
Yeah,
we've got there. Yeah.
There you go.
Externally.
Exactly. And there again, if you want to learn something externally and increase your personal knowledge, go and ask someone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go and knock on old HR's door or something like that. Speak to your line manager.
The amount of people, the amount of people that I meet in organisations, and I'll say to them, have you done any development recently? And they'll say something like, no, they don't develop us. And I'll go, so what have you done about that? Yeah. And of course, they've done nothing about that. Yeah. Instead of going out and looking for some courses, getting them priced up, approaching their boss,
putting a business case. If I had this knowledge, I'd be able to do this for you.
Absolutely, the business case in place. What I find is most employers really quite like that.
Of course. You want to see your team hungry, wanting to learn more.
Absolutely. There is ream of knowledge out there, but also externally, going back to that point of all of your knowledge for your clients.
Yeah.
I've just recently renewed my lease car. I know little about renewing lease cars, so I needed an expert. I needed to go to an expert, and do you know what? I found one, and they put me at ease straight away. I knew they were knowledgeable, and I trusted them very, very quickly. You're in the same position with your clients here, aren't you? So knowledgeable is good. And then finally, the final word was on delivery.
Okay.
The final value, should I say, was on delivery. So you're not focused on quick and easy wins. We've talked a couple of times about customers for life, working with them for a long time, adding real value. Now this, for me, that word value comes into this delivery piece a lot for me, because I think that, you go back 10 years, there's lots of businesses that have a USP, unique selling point, right? Actually, these days, I think very few businesses have a USP. I think actually what you're better off with is a UVP, which is a unique value proposition. Now, the value will be shown in your delivery. How you come across to people, internally and externally, will not only show the core ideology, it will show all of the values involved, but it will add real value, whereas they might be able to go to another recruiter and it might be a bit cheaper, but they're not going to get the same value add that you're going to give them. And I think that's really quite key. Not only the value externally, but also the value careers internally for people.
Yeah.
We've already said there's longevity in the business. People stay here. Yeah. They stay here because they like doing what they do, the people they work with, all this kind of thing.
Yeah, we prove that.
You're here to make people's lives easier, whether that's helping the perfect job or candidate, helping them understanding recruitment, the process, or simply taking them through a CV, for instance. It's there. We've got words like flexible, facilitation, knowledge is back in there again, isn't it? Supporting, understanding, empowering. If you think of people, you will find that in Disney, the staff are empowered.
Yeah.
So, and they don't have to, for instance, if you are in charge of a roller coaster ride, if that member of staff thinks there's something not right, they're empowered to turn it off. Yeah. Even if it's costing tens of thousands of dollars every hour, they are empowered to go, I've made a decision. Yeah. So empowerment is part of the delivery piece for me. So internally you've got, and I do like this one, be solutions focused. Yeah, absolutely. You've got understand individuals' needs of colleagues, try and help out where possible. Yeah. Externally, going the extra mile. Yeah. Now, I like going the extra mile, and most people have heard of that phrase. If you do all of the other values and live the core ideology, you get the first mile right as well. Yeah. Because there's a lot of people that like to go the extra mile, but the basics aren't right in the first place. So actually, if you can get the combination of those two things right, actually it can make a massive impact. Yeah. Make a massive impact. So that takes us on to the key 5 values. So what you see here is you've got the core ideology that sits in the middle there, and then you've got your key values that go around the edge, and the core ideology is the reason why, and the values are how you live it, how you do it. Now, over the coming months in 2018, the brand ambassador team will be releasing communications about these values. They'll be releasing a recognition system where people are going to be recognized for living these values going forward. And I also believe that there'll be some information in there in the appraisals as well. Yeah. So this is going to become a part of living with IPS, a part of working at IPS, because that cross-section of the team that we brought together, all of this information, remember, came from internally. Oh, yeah. It didn't come externally. Nobody's read a book and gone, we should do this. It's come from living, breathing people within the organisation, and then of course it's been signed off by the senior leadership team. Yeah. As important to the business. So, what are our next steps? Well, to give people a bit of a background, after we did the facilitation around the core ideology and the values, we then actually did some education around how to create peak performance, understanding what personal responsibility means, and that accountability thing. We needed to launch a brand ambassador team, which we've done, and we did some work around building relationships. So there are going to be 2 more podcasts coming over the coming months. The next podcast is going to be around how do we achieve peak performance individually, and then the third podcast webcast is going to be around how do we achieve that peak performance and live those values as a high-performing team, as an organisation going forward. So that's what's in store going forward. But for now,
very interesting stuff, John. Thank you.
We hope you've enjoyed this IPS webcast on our core ideology and values. We will be sending 2 more webcasts out, as we've said. But as for now, it's bye from me.
And bye from me.
Thanks very much.